Hello, my beautiful souls. I am so happy to be back on the podcast, and I'm really excited to bring you this episode because I acknowledge that I have been a little bit distant, withdrawn, and I've been in a little bit of a state of sleep or slumber. But now I feel like I'm awake and present and back and ready to share with you what's been happening. In this episode, I am talking about something which may be a little bit foreign or kind of something that we don't really talk about as much, and that is the process of unbecoming perhaps old versions, identities, attachments, and learning to let things go that are no longer in alignment with who you are right now or who you are stepping into. Because I feel like sometimes we are in this liminal space in between perhaps the past and the future, which is obviously the present. We're in this space called the present, but sometimes it can feel a little bit sticky. It can feel a little bit challenging when we have attachments or we have behaviors that we have done for 20 or 30 years or however long it has been for you, and then we are learning to change and evolve. And this is a part of our natural evolution, but sometimes it can just feel really difficult, really hard. And that's what I want to talk about today. I don't want to focus on the fact that it's hard, but I want to share my truth with you because that is what I am here to do. And my truth is something that perhaps I have been a little bit reserved in sharing on some accounts because I have felt a certain level of self judgment. And this is something that I've had to kind of work through myself, and a little bit of shame that, I have been dependent on certain vices, and I've had a codependency with things like alcohol, which I am okay to admit that. And it's not something that I hide. It's something that I have been working through and changing my relationship with alcohol to be one that is more aware of how alcohol makes me feel, and being aware of my kind of identity shifts around alcohol, because in the past my attachment to alcohol was always one that I thought was about maybe feeling good, blowing off some steam from the week, and just being able to kind of let your hair down and have a good time. But what would happen when I would drink is that it would be a way for me to escape, to numb, or to avoid the truth, to avoid perhaps emotions, and kind of just push everything down, or put on this mask of being the party girl, being, high vibe, and being very carefree. But I would get to a point even in my youth where I would drink and then I would black out and I would not remember anything, and I would feel then the shame of wondering, well, what happened? What did I do? What is the embarrassing thing that I do? And I brushed it off for a lot of years, really, because I thought if I didn't know what I did, then I didn't need to feel the shame or the depth of what had happened. But I think that's a story that I was just telling myself. And as I got older, it became quite apparent that me and alcohol didn't really mix. My emotions would spill over, it would be embarrassing. I would maybe say the wrong things. I would cause a scene because when I would drink, it was a space for me because our inhibitions are and our guard is down. It was just a space where obviously I could be me, but what came out was everything that I had been suppressing. So, in the past 12 months, I've really had to kind of just look at that, and I've been reducing my alcohol intake, and in doing so, it's made me realize how much I used to drink, um, how I used to perhaps feel like I had to drink in order to be fun or to fit in. To fit in is a big one because that's kind of when I started drinking alcohol when I was 13, 12 or 13. After my parents had separated, I was obviously feeling a lot of emotions, and I was also coming out of a upbringing of being religious, of being a Jehovah Witness, to going from not really allowed to socialize or hang out or do, anything that anyone else had was able to do, and feeling like I was different, to then having this full spectrum of freedom. And alcohol is something that I turned to in those days, and it became a dependency, became something that I became attached to, and this identity of, the party girl came out. So over the last 12 months, that's what I've been unbecoming. I've been unbecoming the fun party girl, who is always drinking and smoking and not really caring about her responsibilities or her choices or her actions, not listening to her body, totally kind of probably disrespecting her body, and all of the choices that came along with that, including smoking, which is something that has also been a process of unbecoming. So that's kind of where I am. I'm in this new phase where I'm letting these behaviors that perhaps defined me, who I was or who I thought I was, and the behaviors maybe that influenced how I would show up in my life, how I would show up around others. And I think even talking about being a smoker, being a vapor, because I gave up cigarettes maybe 2 or 3 years ago and started vaping. And talking about that, I feel a sense of, it's like this kind of underlying shame where, perhaps there's this stigma around being the good girl in spirituality where, oh, you don't drink or you don't smoke. If you do meditation or Reiki or any of these, modalities, you have to conform to being a good girl. I have been a good girl for the first part of my life, and then I became a rebel. So I've tried the good girl, I've tried the rebel, and now I'm just trying me without those things. And this is the kind of the unbecoming process that I currently find myself in. And I share this because sometimes it can be maybe a little isolating. If you are a a social person, or if you have been a social person and then all of a sudden, I'm not drinking, I'm not smoking, I'm not vaping, so I have to kind of choose how I show up and who I show up with because I have a partner who still loves both of those things, and I have to learn how to be able to say no if I really don't feel like it, or if I want to honor my own commitments and my own boundaries when I know that I don't want to do something anymore, but I do it because it might make me fit in, or it might make me feel better, or whatever the story is that I tell myself. And part of the unbecoming is about really having a little bit of compassion and leeway, because we're not perfect. I'm not perfect. And it's about accepting the fact that we are imperfect, that we are humans, and we are going to fall back into maybe some behaviors or some habits, or when we are starting to change something or try something that's different for us, it is normal for us to fall back into some of these patterns. And I think in this process, I was really being quite hard on myself, and unrealistic as well, because it's taken me a few times to give up vaping. And it's still something that I'm working on, which is interesting that the alcohol I felt was a bigger part of my life in maybe a, what's the word I want to look for? Bigger part of my life in the sense that I felt that it had the biggest impact on me. But what I didn't realize is that the attachment to smoking, and perhaps it might be the addiction of nicotine, was actually a lot harder to kick than the alcohol. So yeah, that's me. That's me, and this is my unbecoming at the moment. And something else that I have been unbecoming is unbecoming a doormat, and unbecoming someone who never used to maybe value herself as much. And this one I know is going to hit my emotions. I can feel it, because I have always thought that I need to do more in order for people to accept me. And this is something that I would seek in my employment. In any of my jobs, I always thought that my job defined me, and it defined my worth and my value. And so for the past maybe 12 months to a year, maybe 12 months, I don't really actually know. Let's say a year. For the past year, I have been doing some support work, and initially I felt really aligned to this work. I felt like I was able to help help some people, help my clients in dealing with mental health. And yes, I probably did, but more recently I came to the realization that I was maybe giving too much of myself to and not feeling the exchange in terms of fulfillment or alignment or happiness. And I would normally stick it out in these situations. I would normally just suck it up and stick it out. But a part of me, I don't know if it's because I'm maybe close to perimenopause or whatever it is, but a part of me had this realization after my 43rd birthday, which I just celebrated, that life is too short to be doing something that you no longer enjoy doing. And I am learning to unbecome maybe a version of me that would just stick it out and would just do it because I know that it was comfortable or easy. And, maybe I was actually making an impact and I didn't realize it, whatever the story is that I was creating. But it was actually a really hard choice to make because it's one where I had a constant and stable income, and I decided to remove that stability. I decided to kind of give it all up, and it's this process of learning to trust yourself more. And for me, learning to trust that I will always be supported. The universe has always got my back. I know this, but sometimes I forget it. And this is the process of learning to, I think, just trust in the unknown and in making choices that are better for me and that I know are in alignment with me. So I'm finding myself being able to recognize what's in alignment and what's not in alignment. So what's in alignment is me now being able to do more Reiki sessions, to hold more women's circles, to run more retreats and workshops and meditation classes, to do more of the things that actually light me the fuck up instead of just doing something for the sake of doing it. So yeah, this is my experience of the unbecoming. And I think the reason I haven't coined it, but the reason I refer to it as the unbecoming is because we're learning to unbecome all of the things that perhaps we had to become in order to survive, or what we thought we had to do in order to survive in this world, patriarchy potentially. And we are cutting the cord with all of those things because it's not true, it's not in alignment with who we are, and it discredits our sovereignty and takes away or takes up our power. So anything that takes up your power is something that you need to look at in your life and figure out how you can loosen the attachment, loosen the grip, and be able to find or move to something that is more in alignment with who you are, what you desire, and how you want to live your life. So how I want to live my life is all of the things that I just said to you, and I know what I'm here to do. I'm very clear on what I'm here to do, and that is about helping people step into their highest expression of who they are and live a life of authenticity rather than a life of surviving. Because when we start to unbecome our survival patterns, we create space for our full spectrum of self to emerge. And when this happens, you are moving into a higher vibration. You are moving into a higher timeline and an authentic timeline, because the alternative is perhaps much denser, much heavier. It kind of weighs you down a little bit. And that's just how I was feeling with some of the choices that I had made in my life. And so now I am in this new phase, in really exciting phase, because I have been here before. I've been here before, but not as this version of myself, not as this version of myself where I am more connected to my body. I am honoring and respecting my body. I am more connected to my sensuality, which I've shared a little bit about in my previous episode. Ooh, throat is activated on that one. I am more connected to my soul purpose and my soul work. And I am more aware of the, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't really know. Whatever I was thinking, I lost it. So that's fine. I think what I wanted to say is that the space that I'm in now is very different, because I am different, and I have this level of deeper trust in myself, in my body, in my gifts, and trust in the uncertainty of wherever my life is going to take me. So this is a part of the unbecoming, is learning to no longer buy into the self-doubt or the self-judgment, and really kind of realize that none of that, even though I know it exists and it's something that will not go away, because we are in this process of unbecoming, there's still going to be a little bit of, tug of war between who we have been in the past, and the experiences and the behaviors and the beliefs of ourselves in the past. But we are being pulled into this version of us that is deeply sacred, sovereign, and empowered, standing in our own truth and our own wisdom, being able to use our own discernment and know when to make choices that are going to serve us, that are going to support us. And this is what I think the process of unbecoming is all about. It's learning to start putting yourself first and start stepping out of maybe your shadows or your victim mentality, and moving into something that is more high vibrational. So, yeah, that's a little bit about where I am, where I've been, and wherever I am going, who knows? But I know that it is in full alignment, and it feels good to feel good. Yeah, I think that's it. I'm just waiting because I've spoken a lot, and I just want to make sure that there's nothing left that wants to come through, because sometimes I get off these podcasts and I was like, oh, I should have said that. But I just want to wait a couple of minutes and I will wrap things up. But what I want to say is that I'm really grateful if you have tuned into this episode, and if you have been tuning into Fully Expressed over its lifespan. It's something that I am going to show up more on, because I really feel like it's nice to maybe relate to someone else's experience. And if you are feeling like you are in an in between, or the process of unbecoming, which I know a lot of us are at the moment, because there is this shift and this breakdown of the old paradigm, and we are moving into a higher paradigm, a higher timeline. And there are a lot of energies that are here on earth that are supporting us in this transition. But if you would like some physical support, or you would like to just chat, I have time. I have so much time now, and I would love to talk to you and connect with you, about whatever it is, and how your process of unbecoming is going for you. So I'm going to leave it there, my loves. And if there's anything else that wants to come through, I will record it and drop it in for you. But I'm sending you all my love, light, and gratitude. And I hope that you have a fantastic day, a fantastic week. And I will be back next month to talk to you again. Bye bye.